Hello and welcome back to or welcome to my channel. This week I'll be showing you how to crochet this little sweater that I'm currently wearing. It is so cute and it's made up of just these two giant stars as you can see here. This tutorial is also fairly beginner friendly. You just need to know how to do a double crochet and a slip stitch going into this. This design is also quite customizable. You can easily make this sweater in any size that you want to, and you can switch colors whenever you want to throughout the design, so you could just do one full solid color or just two colors, or you could go crazy and do a different color with every single row. This whole tutorial is overall just really fun, simple, and easily customizable, so if at any point throughout this video you are enjoying the tutorial or you are finding it to be at all helpful, then please consider subscribing. That way I can continue making more tutorials for all of you. So without any further ado, here is the tutorial for this star sweater. I am getting over a little bit of a cold right now, so if I sound stuffy, I apologize, but for this tutorial I am using a bunch of scrap yarn. I'm using a lot of blue yarns here, a little bit of green, a little bit of white, and a little bit of brown. All of this yarn is weight 4 acrylic yarn, and then I am also using a 5mm crochet hook. So let's go ahead and get started on the first star. We are making each star from the center and then working our way out. So in the middle of the star I want to have this green yarn here, so that's what I'm starting with. And now we're going to begin with a magic circle, but if you don't know how to do a magic circle yet, that's okay. You can still do this tutorial. All you can do instead of a magic circle is just cast on with that slip knot, and then just go ahead and chain 5 like so, and then insert your hook right into that very first chain stitch and then slip stitch. So then you have this little circle here, and then right into this little circle of chains you're then going to place the double crochets. It will look a little bit better if you can do the magic circle, but if you have yet to grasp how to do a magic circle, that's okay. I completely understand that it is a more difficult thing for some people. It took me forever to pick it up as well. So if that's something you can't do quite yet, you can just go ahead and make a little chain 5 and then work all the stitches right into that center of the chain. But instead, if you can, I do recommend doing a magic circle instead here in the center. But I'm going to start off with a magic circle, or you can do that little chain 5 and slip stitch. So you're then going to chain 2, and then into the circle here you're going to place 21 double crochets. So right into the magic circle or the chain 5 section, whichever one you're working into, go ahead and place 21 double crochets. So then after placing all 21 of those double crochets, if you are working into a magic circle, you then want to go ahead and pull that tail end and tighten the circle like so. And then if you just have that chain 5 section, you won't be able to tighten it at all, so just go ahead and skip this step. And then right into that second chain 2 that we made at the start of the row, I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch like so. So now we have one little perfect circle here, and now we can go ahead and start making all the points for the star. So I'm going to skip over this first stitch here, the one that we slip stitched into, and then right into the second stitch I'm going to place a single crochet, and then I'm going to skip over the next stitch, so I'm skipping this stitch, and into the one right after it I'm going to place 3 double crochets. So here's 2 and 3 double crochets, all in just that one stitch there. All 3 of the double crochets are going into the exact same stitch. I'm then going to chain 3, and then we're going to do another 3 double crochets into that same exact stitch. So I'm inserting my hook into the same stitch, and I'm going to do 3 double crochets again, and 3. And then I'm going to skip this stitch here that's immediately after this stitch we just worked into. So I'm skipping that stitch and going into the next one, and I'm going to place a single crochet into that next stitch. And then again, I'm going to skip the next stitch. Into the stitch after it, I'm going to place another 3 double crochets. Each one of these double crochets are going into the exact same stitch, so I'm inserting my hook into the same stitch every single time. All 3 double crochets there, and then I'm going to chain 3. And then again double crochet 3 times into the exact same stitch. So again, I'm inserting my hook into that same stitch every single time as I place another 3 double crochets like so. And then I'm going to skip this next stitch here, and into the stitch after that one I'm going to place a single crochet, and then I'm going to skip the next stitch, and into the stitch after it I'm then going to place 3 double crochets. So again, 3 double crochets all into the exact same stitch here, like so, chain 3, and then another 3 double crochets into the exact same stitch. So there's 3. And then again, I'm going to skip this stitch here, and into the one right after it, place a single crochet. And then I'm going to skip the next stitch. Into the one right after it, I'm going to place 3 double crochets. Each of these spots here where we're doing the 3 double crochets is each of the corners or the points of the star. So there's another 3 double crochets, and then I'm going to chain 3 again, and then place another 3 double crochets again into that exact same stitch. So all 3 of these double crochets are going to the same stitch, like so. And now we just need to make one last point for the star. So again, I'm going to skip this next stitch into the one right after it. I'm going to place a single crochet, and then I'm going to skip the next stitch into the one right after it. I am placing 3 double crochets, and then chain 3, and then another 3 double crochets into that exact same stitch, like so. And then I'm going to insert my hook right into that very first single crochet stitch that we made, which should be 1 stitch away from this point that we just did. So 1 stitch away from the stitch we just placed those 6 double crochets into should be that first single crochet stitch that we made. So then I'm going to slip stitch into that first single crochet stitch. And now we have all 5 points of our star here. You can see it's a little baby star with all 5 points going all the way around. And now right here, I want to go ahead and switch my colors. And you can switch colors as often or as little as you want to. That is completely up to personal preference. You do not need to switch colors every time that I do. So if you are not switching colors, what you're going to do is just slip stitch right into the next stitch here. And you're going to slip stitch like that. And then you're going to go ahead and chain 3. That's how you're going to start the next row if you are not switching colors. But because I'm going to switch colors instead of slip stitching, right here I'm going to go ahead and cast off instead. So I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm cutting my yarn, leaving a little bit of a tail there so I can weave that in later. And then I just pull my hook and then tug on the yarn to lock it in place. So then after casting off, I'm going to pick up my next color, which I will be using this antique white yarn here for my next color. So then at any one of these points here around the star, I'm going to go right in between the 2 points, and then I'm going to insert my hook into the single crochet stitch, but I'm going to go into the stitch here that's closest to this point here. So instead of going on this side of the single crochet, I'm going on this side that is closest to the start of the point. So this would essentially be the same stitch that I demonstrated slip stitching into if you were not changing colors, where we just slip stitch right into the next stitch. That is the stitch here that I've inserted my hook into. So then I'm going to pick up my yarn. So I'm going to bring this white yarn through, like so, and then I'm going to chain 3. Like so. So whether you switch colors or you didn't switch colors, you should be here with a chain 3, like so. And now into these next 2 double crochets here, I'm going to be placing a double crochet. So into these next 2 double crochet stitches up to the chain 3 section, I am placing a double crochet. And now right here we have this little chain 3 section that we made in between the 2 groups of 3 double crochets. So into this chain 3 section, we're going to do that exact same thing that we did before, where we're going to place 3 double crochets into this little chain 3 section. So here's 2 and 3 double crochets, like so. I'm then going to chain 3, and then place another 3 double crochets into that exact same section. So just like we did in the previous row, we're doing 3 double crochets, chain 3, 3 double crochets, like so. And now into these next 2 double crochets, I'm going to be placing a double crochet stitch. So right into this first one here, I am placing a double crochet, and then into the next one, I am placing another double crochet. So that's 2 double crochet stitches, one after the other. And then down here, I'm going to skip these next 2 stitches. So there's these 2 stitches here. I'm going to just skip right over those up to this next double crochet. And this should give you 2 double crochets until you reach the next chain point. So I'm going to do 2 double crochets, 1 in each of these stitches, like so. So you should have 3 double crochet, chain 3, 3 double crochet right in this little chain 3 section, and then 2 double crochet stitches in the double crochet stitches of the previous row. And then you're going to skip these 2 stitches here, just jump right over them, and then do another 2 double crochet, which should bring you up flush to the next chain 3 section here. So then into this chain 3 section, we're going to repeat that same process of placing 3 double crochets right into this chain 3, like so, and then chain 3, and then place another 3 double crochets right into that chain 3 section, like so. And now into these next 2 double crochet stitches, I am placing a double crochet. So there's 1 and 2, and then I'm going to skip over these 2 stitches here. It's kind of hard to tell because this is where I cast it off, but I will be skipping over these 2 stitches and then jumping over to this double crochet, where I then place another 2 double crochets in these next 2 stitches, like so. And then that brings me up flush to the next chain 3 section. So now into this chain 3 section, I am then going to place 3 double crochets. And then I'm going to chain 3, and then place another 3 double crochets into that exact same chain section, like so. And then again, we're going to do 2 double crochets in the next 2 stitches. So there's 1 and 2, and then skip over these 2 stitches here. Skip right over to this double crochet, and then place 2 double crochets, one after the other, which that should bring you right up to this chain 3 section here at this point of the star. And then into this chain 3 section, we're going to place 3 double crochets, and then chain 3, and then place another 3 double crochets, like so. And now we just have one last point here of the star to complete. So into these next 2 double crochets, I'm going to place a double crochet, so 2 stitches here, and then I'm going to skip over these 2 stitches in between the 2 points of the star, right over to this next double crochet, where I can then place 1 double crochet and then 2 double crochet, one after the other. And then that should bring you right up to this chain 3 section here on the last point of the star. And now into this chain 3 section, we're going to place 3 double crochets, and then chain 3, and then place another 3 double crochets, like so. And then one last time into these 2 double crochets here, I'm going to place 2 double crochets, so 1 and 2 into those 2 stitches. And then here, if we jump past those 2 stitches, we're then met with this little chain 3 and our first double crochet of the row, which I'm going to insert my hook right into that stitch and slip stitch, like so. So there is our next row of the star completed. And now you are essentially just going to follow this exact same method that I just demonstrated until the star is wide enough that you can turn it into a sweater. But I'm going to walk you through this another 2 rows or so. So let's go ahead and start our next row. So to start this next row, I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch right into the next stitch, like so, and then chain 3. And this chain 3 acts as our first double crochet. So when I say that we need 4 double crochets up until we reach this little chain 3 section at the top of the star, I am including the chain 3 we just did. So we're only going to be placing 3 double crochets, but with that chain 3, we then have 4 double crochets essentially, because we're counting that chain 3 as a double crochet. So every time you complete a row of this star, you are increasing this little portion here by 2. So where we previously had to place 2 double crochets to reach the top of the star here, we now have to place 4 double crochets. So that chain 3 acts as our first double crochet, and then we need to do 3 more double crochets into each of these stitches. So 1 double crochet into each stitch 3 times here, all the way up until we reach the top where we have that chain 3 section, like so. And now into this chain 3 section, I'm going to place 3 double crochets, and then chain 3, and then place another 3 double crochets into that exact same section, like so. And now we need to do another 4 double crochets to work our way back down to the little center portion here in between each of the points of the star. And sometimes these double crochet stitches can get kind of hidden up here in the chain section. So sometimes you may need to move these double crochets, kind of slide them to the side to make sure you can find that first double crochet stitch there and pick up the correct stitch. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4 double crochets, and then I'm going to go ahead and skip these next 2 stitches, and then going into this next stitch here we should have another 4 double crochets up to the top of this next point, and that's how we know we got the count correct. So we should have 4 double crochets here. So here's 2, 3, and 4. So that's perfect. We lined it up perfectly then. So there we have 4 double crochets going down. We skip these 2 stitches here, and then 4 double crochets going right back up to the chain 3 section here of the next point of the star. So now into this chain 3 section, I'm going to place 3 double crochets, like so, and then chain 3, and then another 3 double crochets under that exact same chain section. And then remember, you may need to kind of push those double crochets out of the way to be able to find that first of the 4 double crochets there. And now we're going to do 4 double crochets, one after the other, working our way back down the point of the star. So here's 3 and 4. And then we're going to skip these next 2 stitches here. And then we should have 4 double crochets going back up to the next star, and it should line up perfectly. So here's 2, 3, and 4, which perfectly lines up with this chain 3 section. And now into this chain 3 section, I'm going to place 3 double crochets, like so, chain 3, and then place another 3 double crochets. Like so. And now I'm going to go right into that first double crochet there and then place 4 double crochets one after the other. So there's 2, 3, and 4. And now I'm going to skip over these next 2 stitches, and then it should line up perfectly that we need another 4 double crochets to get back up to the top of this next star. So here's 2, 3, and 4, which perfectly brings us right up to this little chain 3 section. And now into this chain 3 section, I'm going to place 3 double crochets, and then chain 3, and place another 3 double crochets. Like so. Then working our way back down here, I'm going to find that first double crochet, which again sometimes can be a little bit hidden, and then we're going to do 4 double crochets working our way down. So there's 3 and 4. And then I'm going to skip over these 2 stitches here in between the points of the star, and then 4 double crochets right back up to the top of the next point of the star. Here's my 4th double crochet, and now right into this chain 3 section, I'm going to place 3 double crochets, chain 3, and then place another 3 double crochets. Like so. And now one last time here for this row, I'm going to go ahead and place 1 double crochet into the next 4 stitches. So here's 2, 3, and 4. Like so. And then skipping over these next 2 stitches, you will find that chain 3 that we first started the row with and that first double crochet there. I'm then going to slip stitch right into that 3rd chain like so, therefore ending that row as well. So now let's do one last row together. So into this next stitch here, I'm going to slip stitch like so, and then chain 3, And then remember that chain 3 acts as our first double crochet, and then also we have increased by 2 stitches. So in the previous row where we needed 4 double crochet to get up to the top of the point here, we now need 6 double crochets. But because this chain 3 acts as our first double crochet, at this part here we're only going to need 5 more double crochets. So I'm going to do 5 more double crochets here, therefore having 6 stitches going all the way up to the top of the star point. Like so. So there are 5 double crochets and then our chain 3, so 6 double crochets. And then right under that chain 3 section at the top of the star, we're going to do 3 double crochets, chain 3, and another 3 double crochets. And then we're going to look for that first double crochet, which again sometimes can be a little bit hidden under those double crochets that we just placed. And we're going to do 6 double crochets back down to the sort of the middle in between the 2 points of the stars. And here's 3, 4, 5, and then here is that 6th double crochet. And then I'm going to skip these 2 stitches here, jump right over to that 3rd stitch, and now from this stitch up to the top of the star should be another 6 stitches. So that's 1, 2, and it should line up perfectly. Here's 4, 5, and then perfectly lined up here is that 6th double crochet. So now we're right here with this chain 3 at the top of the next star, or the next point. So now we're going to do 3 double crochets right under that chain 3 section, chain 3, and another 3 double crochets right under that exact same chain 3 section. Like so. And now again we work our way back down. I'm kind of moving those stitches to be able to find that first double crochet. And we're going to do 6 double crochets here, 5, and now here is that 6th double crochet there. I'm then going to skip these next 2 stitches, and then jumping into that 3rd stitch, I'm going to place a double crochet, and we should need 6 of these double crochets to get to the top of the next point of the star. So here's 3, 4, 5, and 6, which perfectly lines up. Now we are flush with that next chain 3 section. And under that little chain 3 section, I'm going to place 3 double crochets, chain 3, and then place another 3 double crochets. Like so. I'm then going to kind of slide those stitches to the side so I can find that first double crochet there. And then we're going to do 6 double crochets, one after the other, back down the point of this star. So here's 3, 4, 5, and 6 of those double crochets. So I can then skip these next 2 stitches, and into this 3rd stitch here I am placing my hook and placing a double crochet. And then we should have exactly 6 double crochets leading up to the top of this star point. So there's 3, 4, 5, and 6. And now after that, I'm going to place 3 double crochets right here at the point of the star, right under that chain 3 section. And you're going to do the exact same thing every time you reach one of these star points. You're going to do 3 double crochets, chain 3, and then another 3 double crochets. And now we just have 1 point left here for the row. So again, I'm going to kind of shift those stitches to the side so I can find that first double crochet. And then I'm going to double crochet into the next 6 stitches here. So here's 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then I'm going to skip these next 2 stitches. And into that 3rd stitch, insert my hook, double crochet, and we should have 6 double crochets here. So here's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 double crochets. And now into this last point here, the 5th point of the star, we're going to place 3 double crochets. And then chain 3. And then another 3 double crochets. And now we're going to work our way right back down. So I'm going to kind of shift those stitches to the side so that way I can see my first double crochet stitch, which is right there. And we're going to do 6 final double crochets. So here's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And now here, if we skip these 2 stitches, that perfectly lines up with that chain 3 we placed at the start of the row. So I'm going to insert my hook right into the 3rd chain and slip stitch, therefore completing that row of the star. And now I want to switch colors again, which remember, you can switch colors whenever you want to throughout this project, but how I'm going to do this is I'm going to chain 1 and then cut my yarn, and I'm leaving a little bit of a tail because I'm going to weave all of these loose ends in once I'm done with my sweater. I'm then going to pull my hook, and then I'm going to tug on the yarn to therefore lock it in place like so. And I try not to cast on at the same place that I cast it off, that way there's not a whole bunch of loose strings in one spot. So I'll kind of rotate the star and then find a different spot along the star to cast on. And I'm going to be casting on with this teal yarn here, and I'm just going to go ahead and find one of these sort of dips in between the stars, and I'm going to go into the first stitch after this stitch here that has this little gap. So where we skip over those 2 stitches, it creates sort of this little gap here. I'm going to go right into the first double crochet after that gap, so right there. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull my yarn through like so, and then chain 3. And then remember that every time you start a new row, you have increased by 2 from the distance from the bottom here to the top of the point. So where before we had to do 6 double crochets, and now you need 8 double crochets to get to the top of the star. And then in each point here, you're going to do 3 double crochets, chain 3, another 3 double crochets, all under that little chain 3 section. And then remember to skip 2 stitches down here in between each of the points of the star. So that is how you are going to make your star. It is quite simple. You just get to repeat that exact same process, switching colors as often as you want to until the star is big enough that it fits comfortably across the front of your body, and then we can turn it into a sweater. Here is that completed star, and now what you're going to do is hold it like this, where you have the points of the star on either side and then that sort of V shape right where your neck is, and you're going to hold it up to your body like this, and it should cover the entire front of your body. So you see how there's these sort of lines along the star where we skip those 2 stitches? So you want the line in the middle to be perfectly centered. So this is the perfect center of the neckline. And then this line here along the side should be comfortably under your arm, because this is going to be the sleeve here. So this line you can see in the design should land comfortably under your arm on both sides, and that's how you know you have a good sized star. And so now we're going to go ahead and make a second one of these. So you just follow this exact same tutorial that I just demonstrated, and you're going to make a second star. I did it with the exact same color switches as I did with the first one. So we have 2 perfectly identical stars here. And now I'm going to go ahead and prepare to start connecting the stars and adding the sleeves. So again, I'm holding this like so, where I have the points of the star on either side of my neck. So I've got the points here on the shoulder, and now we're going to be attaching both panels along these points here. So starting from this point, you're going to kind of work your way down and see where you want that neckline to be, because this is going to become the shoulder. And again, I'm holding it right here, and then I'm just going to kind of bring my hand down and be like, right here seems like a good point for the shoulder. So now roughly marking this part from here to the tip of the star point is going to be the shoulder. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Again, I'm going to kind of slide down here and decide this is where I want the shoulder to be, like so. So now here to here are the shoulder portions, and then everything in between these two bobby pins is just the open neckline. So now that we have this star roughly marked here at the top for where we want the shoulders to be, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that we have an accurate count on both sides. So I'm going to first count the number of stitches from this stitch marker or bobby pin to the very top of the point of the star on this side, and then do the same thing on the other side, and just make sure it's the exact same number of stitches on both sides. So on this right side of the star, I have 15 stitches going from the bobby pin to the top of the star, and then on this left side of the star, I only have 14 stitches going from the stitch marker to the top of the star point. So I'm going to go ahead and just move this stitch marker over by 1 stitch. Therefore, we can have the same number of stitches for this shoulder as we have for this shoulder. So now that we know this is perfectly lined up, I'm going to go ahead and bring that next star in. So here I have that second star that I made exactly the same way that I did with the first star, and I'm just going to sort of line it up here. So now I have both stars lined up here perfectly, and going over here to this one shoulder side that we have marked, you can see I have all the stitches lined up on both panels, and I'm going to go ahead and insert my hook right into this stitch that we have marked on both sides. So I have it all lined up, so I'm going to go right into this stitch and then right into the stitch we have marked. So I have both stars there on my hook, and I picked up the same stitch on both stars. So if you go all the way down, you can see all the stitches are perfectly lined up. I'm then going to remove that stitch marker, and now I'm going to get my yarn. I'm going to pick up that yarn with my hook and just pull it through both of those stitches and chain 1 to lock it in place. And now we're going to be slip stitching both of these stars together all the way down to the point of this star point here. So I'm going to go ahead and insert my hook into the next stitch of this star, and then going to the star here, I'm going to pick up the next stitch on that side too. So again, I have a stitch on both sides, so I've got 2 stitches on my hook, 1 from each star panel, and I'm going to pick up my yarn, pull it through, and slip stitch. And I'm keeping my tension very loose as I slip stitch so that I don't accidentally bunch up the fabric of the stars. I'm just very loosely picking up the exact same stitch on both sides and slip stitching, and I'm working towards this point here of the star, so I'm working out away from the center of the star. I'm going to go into the next stitch like so on both sides. Oops. And slip stitch, keeping that tension very loose, and I'm just going to work my way all the way down until I reach that chain 3 section at the top of the star point. And so now here you can see I have slip stitched all the way down from where we had that stitch marker to the little chain 3 sections at the point of the star. So I'm going to insert my hook right under that chain 3 on both sides and then place another slip stitch. And now we're going to go ahead and jump right into making the sleeve. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 3. And now I'm going to go to the back star. So we have the 2 stars here. I'm going to kind of separate them, and I'm going to the star behind the top one here, so the back star. And I'm going to insert my hook right into that first double crochet after that chain 3, and then place a double crochet, and then again double crochet, and I'm just going to double crochet into every single stitch all the way down until I reach this little spot here where we typically skip 2. So I'm going all the way from the top of this star point down to the little bottom of the star point where we have that skip 2 stitch section. So I've now double crocheted all the way down, and I'm to this point here where typically I would skip these 2 stitches, but instead of continuing onward, I'm going to go ahead and bring that second star back. So I'm going to kind of fold this over and bring it back, and now we're going to just jump right over to the second star. So I'm going to turn my work like so. So now that second star is in the back here, and as you can see, we have it from where you follow the point of the star down, and then there's those 2 stitches right here, which mine is where I ended up casting off, so it's a little bit funky, but you have those 2 stitches that you typically would skip. So I'm going right above those 2 stitches that you typically would skip and placing a double crochet just right into that stitch there. So it's sort of bringing both sides of the star together, and then I'm going to place a double crochet stitch into every single one of these stitches all the way up this entire point of the star until I reach that little chain 3 section and that first double crochet that we placed going down this way. So we're sort of making a circle here for the armhole. So as you can see, we double crocheted all the way down and then connected the 2 stars here at the bottom of the point with a double crochet, and now I'm double crocheting all the way back up, making that circle for the armhole. So now here I have double crocheted up until I reach that little chain 3 section at the top of the star point. I'm going to jump right over that to where we have that chain 3 double crochet when we started this row. I'm going to go ahead and insert my hook right into that first double crochet there and slip stitch, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the next stitch and chain 3. So then we can go ahead and begin our next row. So already I'm just going to go ahead and place a double crochet, and I'm just going to double crochet into every single stitch all the way around this entire opening that we made for the sleeve. So you're just going to continue working in a round and double crocheting into every single stitch all the way around the armhole, and then slip stitching to that first chain 3, and then chaining 3 and starting your row again. And you can switch colors as often as you want to, as many rows as you want to get sort of a striped sleeve as well. So now right here where we have those 2 stars attached at the bottom of the sleeve, it does look a little bit wonky. So what we're going to do is just insert our hook right into that first double crochet, like so. And now I'm going to place a double crochet right into this little connecting section here, like so. And then a double crochet right into the next stitch. And this just cleaned it up nicely, so now going forward you shouldn't have a problem here. You just have simple double crochets and it no longer is going to look kind of weird. So that is cleaned up perfectly, and now we can just go ahead and double crochet our way back up to the top of the sleeve. Okay, so now I'm placing that last double crochet there, and then I'm going to slip stitch right into that first double crochet of the row. So now we have 2 rows of our sleeve completed, and as you can see here, the sleeve is sort of starting to take shape a little bit more. I'm going to go ahead and cast off now so I can switch colors for the sleeve. So I'm going to chain 1 and then cut my work and then pull my hook to lock it in place. This step is completely optional, but I do recommend it. So now when I'm switching colors, instead of casting on right where I cast it off here at the top of the sweater or the sleeve, I'm actually going to go around to the bottom. I'm going to flip it here, and I'm going to find that very bottom stitch of the sleeve. That way, whenever there's a weird seam that is formed, because when you do slip stitch or do chains, it does look slightly different than the rest of your double crochets. So to keep anything that looks a little bit messy or any of the weird seams that takes place when slip stitching kind of hidden, I want to cast on the bottom of my sleeve, so all those weird seams can be under my arm instead of right on top of my arm. It just helps the sweater to look a little bit cleaner and more put together. So again, not necessary, but I do recommend it. So I'm inserting my hook right into that stitch there, and I'm going to bring in the white yarn, which is my new color, and I'm going to pull it right through, chain 3, and then continue like normal right into that next stitch, placing a double crochet, and then just double crocheting into every single stitch, working in a round until your sleeve is long enough that you're happy with it. I have now completed the first sleeve. It took me about 40 or so rows to make this entire sleeve, and now we're going to go ahead and do the second sleeve. I'm going to show you how to make this sleeve a little bit faster than I did the last one, just because we're going to do it the exact same way. So I'm going back up to the top or the collar of the stars, and here you can see I still have that bobby pin or stitch marker there to mark where we need to start the shoulder portion. So I'm going to go ahead and just remove that stitch marker like so, and then insert my hook right into that stitch, and then I'm lining up both panels here of the star. So you're going to line up both sides and then pick up the same stitch on the other side of the star here, and then we're going to bring our yarn through. So I'm going to pick up that yarn and pull it through both of the stitches and chain 1 to lock it in place. I'm then inserting my hook right into the next stitch on both sides. So I'm picking up the same stitch on both star panels, and then I'm going to slip stitch. And again, I'm keeping my tension very loose as I slip stitch so that I don't bunch up the fabric. So very loose tension, and I'm just slip stitching all of these identical stitches together on both sides. And I'm going to slip stitch all the way down until I reach that little chain 3 section at the point of the star, like so. And now here I'm at that little chain 3 section at the top of the star point on both sides. I'm going to insert my hook right under that chain 3 on both sides and slip stitch. And then we're going to sort of separate the stars, so we have both panels of the stars on either sides here. And now into the back panel, the back star, I'm going to insert my hook right into that first double crochet stitch and then place a double crochet. And now we're going to just place 1 double crochet into every single stitch here all the way down the point of the star down till we reach that center where we skip 2 stitches. Okay, and then I'm going to pause here right in that last double crochet before we get to those 2 stitches that we would skip. And now I'm going to bring the other side, the other star panel back like so, and I'm going to turn my work so that bottom star is now on the top, and now we can work into that top panel star. And I'm going to go ahead and find the exact same stitch on this side. So here we have those 2 stitches we would typically skip. I'm going to go right to the stitch right before that one and then place a double crochet like so. And now we're just working our way right back up. So now I'm placing a double crochet into every single stitch all the way back up until I reach that little chain 3 section at the top here, or that first double crochet that we placed. So I'm just working all the way back up that point of the star. And now here at the end, I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch right into that very first double crochet, therefore making a perfect circle here. So now we have the round, the opening for the sleeve. And now I'm going to go ahead and do another row. So I'm going to chain 3. And then just start double crocheting again, placing 1 stitch into every single double crochet stitch all the way around. And then right here where we have that kind of weird connection at the bottom of the sleeve, I'm going to do a double crochet, insert my hook right into that little connector stitch or piece there, another double crochet, and then insert my hook into the next stitch with another double crochet. Therefore cleaning that up, and now we have just a perfect, clean, seamless bridge here in between both panels. And then just double crochet like normal all the way back up to the top of the sleeve. And now at the end of the row, I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch right into that very first double crochet. And now I'm making sure my sleeves are identical in terms of color switching. So I'm going to switch colors now because last time I switched colors after just doing 2 rows of blue. So I'm going to do the exact same thing on this sleeve as I did on the other sleeve. So I'm just going to go ahead and cast off like so. And then as I mentioned in the other sleeve, I do recommend when you cast on to do so at the bottom of the sleeve now. That way any of the weird seams that may come about from crocheting can be under your arm and a little bit more hidden. So I'm going down to the bottom of the sleeve right under where my arm would be. I'm going to insert my hook into one of those stitches and then bring my new yarn through like so, chain 3, and then just begin double crocheting in around. Repeat this exact same process that we did on the other sleeve, and I'm going to be switching colors in the exact same amount that I did on the other sleeve so they can be identical. So then after completing the second sleeve, there's obviously still a lot of loose ends we have to weave in, but the very last step we have is just to attach the sides of the sweater here. So now we are simply going to secure the sides of the sweater. So I'm just picking one of the sleeves here that we did, and I'm sort of laying both panels out so that they're evenly placed on top of each other. So now here you can see we have this sleeve and then all of the star below the sleeve here, and that's the part we're going to be slip stitching. And this is where I'm going to go ahead and cast on, is I'm going to insert my hook under that chain 3 at that point and then this point here. So you should have your hook under both chain 3 sections of the point of the star that is right below this sleeve. And then I'm going to get some more of this blue yarn, and I'm just going to pull it through and chain 1 to lock it in place. And now we're going to be slip stitching all the way up until we reach the bottom of the sleeve here. So again, I'm going to be very careful making sure that all of my stitches are lined up, and I'm picking up the exact same stitch on both panels. So I'm going into the first stitch on the front panel or the front star, and then I'm going back to the second panel or the second star, and I'm picking up that exact same stitch on that star as well, and then slip stitching them together. And I am keeping my tension quite loose as I slip stitch along the side of the star. That way it doesn't bunch up the fabric at all. So I'm keeping my tension very loose, and I'm just slip stitching these together. And I'm just going to slip stitch all the way up until I reach this part here at the bottom of the sleeve, like so. So now you can see the stars are perfectly secured from the bottom of the sleeve all the way down here to the top of the next point is perfectly secured. So now I'm going to go ahead and cast off, and then we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. So I'm going to flip my project over and find that other sleeve on the other side, and again I'm going to sort of lay out the stars and line them up evenly so they're laying perfectly on top of each other. And then as I demonstrated on the other side, we want to go all the way from the point here of this point of the star all the way up to the sleeve here. So this entire stretch we want to connect together. So I'm going to go ahead and insert my hook right under that chain 3 section on both star panels, and then get my blue yarn, and then I'm going to pull that yarn through, chain 1 to lock it in place, and then begin slip stitching. And again, I'm being careful to make sure I'm picking up the exact same stitch on both sides, that all the stitches are lined up perfectly. And I'm keeping my tension quite loose as I do this, and I'm just going to slip stitch all the way up until I reach the sleeve here. And so now you can see here that I have slip stitched all the way from the point of this star up to underneath this arm here. This is all perfectly secured together. So now I'm going to go ahead and cast off. Like so. So this is the entire star sweater completed, and the last few things you want to do is first of all just weave in all of these loose ends, and then once you have completed that, you can turn the sweater right side out, so that way the seams here where we did the slip stitching can be on the inside. So once I am done weaving in all of these loose ends, I'm just going to flip my sweater right side out, that way all the seams can be a lot cleaner. And then I also would recommend steaming or blocking this piece just to help the stars lay a bit flatter. But regardless, all you have left to do is weave in loose ends and then flip the sweater right side out, and you will have a completed star sweater. Here is what the sweater looks like after weaving in all of the loose ends, turning it right side out, and then also steaming it to help flatten some of the parts of the star. So I really hope that you like the way your sweater turned out, and if you have any questions at all, then please leave those in the comments down below, and I'll do my very best to get back to you. If you wanted to share your finished design with me, I would love to see it. You can do so by either tagging me in a picture that you post on Instagram, or you can just send me a picture of your crochet sweater to my Instagram DMs. So I really look forward to seeing all of your finished star sweaters and what colors you picked out, and I also look forward to hearing from all of you in the comments down below. And I will see you again very soon with another crochet video. Until then, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. I will see you very soon. Goodbye.